Imagine this. You're driving down the road with your family in the car while you're in the driving seat. All of a sudden, a Lamborghini who must have been going 30 miles over the speed limit runs right into you. Not only is your car completely totaled, but your family is hurt very badly. Being too hurt from your injuries from the crash, you're unable to move and are just able to rely on emergency services to get to the scene quick enough to help your family. Unfortunately, it's too late, as your entire family was pronounced dead at the scene except for yourself. The police officer informed you that the Lamborghini was going too fast, which is how it ran the red light, which led to a head-on-head collision. That Lamborghini that was speeding for 2 seconds is what caused your significant other and 2 other children to pass away. Now, coming back to reality, how do you feel about speeding now? Now, after sharing that very sad visualization, which could very well become reality, I will now share some statistical evidence. Then following with why this speech could be life-changing and helpful to so many people, while also moving into the audience by establishing likability. Today, I will be explaining the life-threatening consequences of speeding, which by the end, I hope you will reconsider why it is dangerous to go any amount over the speed limit. Obeying the speed limit. Why is it there to protect us? Obeying the speed limit. Is there a right to speed when there's no one else around? Obeying the speed limit. What are the consequences to speeding? Now that I have addressed my 3 main points, I will now talk about my first main point by using myth versus facts that go along with it. Obeying the speed limit. Why is the speed limit there to protect us? The first myth that I will be contracting today is the speed limit does not contribute to car crashes. However, the reality is that studies show that speeding contributes to 30 through 50% of road facilities. Another myth that I will be contradicting today is that it is all right to go 1 to 2 miles over the speed limit, as it will not have consequences to the driver or anyone else around them. The reality of that is that another study shows that driving just 1 mile over the speed limit can impact the crash more severely, which is why speed limits are there. The last myth that I will be talking about today is that more experienced drivers can protect themselves and do not need the speed limit. But the reality of this is that everyone needs to follow the speed limit, as it is there to guide you in areas you may not be familiar with, which may have more hazardous road conditions. Now that I have explained my different speed limits that are there to protect us, I will now tell you why it is not smart to drive any limit past the speed limit. Obeying the speed limit. Is it alright to speed when there's no one else around? Studies show that the risk of death is 4 times higher if you hit a person at 40 miles per hour rather than 30 miles per hour. Speeding any amount over the speed limit allows you less time to react quickly if needed in a dangerous situation. If other cars are obeying the speed limit and going slower than you, since you're speeding, the risk for a head-on-head collision is much higher than if you're traveling at the same speed as them. Now that I have explained why it is not safe to go any amount over the speed limit, I will now be going over the serious, life-threatening consequences of speeding. Obeying the speed limit. What are the consequences that come with speeding? The first consequence is increased risk of losing control of the vehicle. Another risk is time to avoid hazard becomes less. The last risk that I will be talking about today is a serious fine or imprisonment, which with states such as Georgia raising their fines to $500 for offensive speeding. Now that I have shared my 3 main points that deal with the issue of speeding, I will now use the door-in-the-face tactic to call upon some much-needed help from the audience in order to decrease this issue and bring more safety to the roads. My large request is that now that you have heard my speech, how many of you will protest against your local government to decrease the speed limit even less in order to decrease the number of fatalities from speeding? My smaller, more reasonable request is that if it is not too much to ask, how many of you will explain to anyone that you see or are with speeding why it is dangerous, and not only are they putting themselves at risk, but anyone around them? Thank you.